Welcome to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, the most valuable podcast for business leaders who need a boost in revenue and business growth. I'm your host, Kerry Curran, and with over 20 years of marketing agency experience driving client and business growth, I now manage RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, where we help businesses like yours effectively scale revenue growth. Visit revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn today. In this episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast titled From Traditional Search to AI-Driven Strategies, Future-Proofing Your SEO, I'm joined by my old friend and colleague, Paul Shapiro. Paul is a legendary SEO expert, and today he leads Uber's web intelligence team. Paul joined me on this episode to discuss the evolving role of AI in search engine optimization. He shares his experience with AI's transformative effects on SEO, from leveraging tools like GPT for content creation to navigating potential threats from AI-powered search engines. We discuss strategies for future-proofing your SEO efforts, optimizing AI-generated content, and ensuring long-term success in a rapidly changing digital landscape. This episode is packed with actionable insights for executives focused on digital marketing and revenue growth. Let's go. So welcome, Paul. Very excited to have you with us today. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your extensive background and expertise.
Thanks for having me, Kerry. Yeah, my name's Paul Shapiro. Right now I'm working at Uber on what we call our web intelligence team. So the web intelligence team is focused on Uber's website, which is an interesting channel for Uber, who is a app-based company. But we're really focused on building out a lot of our data tooling for marketing channels like SEO, PPC, CRO, etc. And it's been a really interesting ride so far. Prior to Uber, I was at Shopify and I ran the technical SEO team there. Great experience. We did lots of very interesting experiments and all sorts of things. Was there for like 2 or 3 years. Couldn't say better things about that experience. And then prior to that, I was on the publishing side. I was at Condé Nast running the technical SEO team for publications like Vogue and Wired and Bon Appetit, which had its own separate set of challenges from Shopify. And then, prior to that, I was agency side, working alongside very talented people like Kerry Curran.
Thanks, Paul. So Paul and I go way back, back when he was leading the SEO for both Catalyst and parts of Group M, and we originated the Tech SEO Boost, which someday we'll bring back. But always great to speak with you, Paul, and definitely miss the days when we were brainstorming together and always learning a lot from you. So I know in all those years, AI has come to life and impacted SEO. And so there's been a lot of changes back from when you and I were partnering together. So talk a bit of kind of what you've seen with that evolution and, how AI is impacting SEO today.
Yeah. My God, can I first say what a change from when I started playing with AI? I remember probably back at Catalyst, there was something called they called it more, it had a specific name because that's what it was then. It was a very niche part of AI called natural language generation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the hot model was GPT-2. Not with no association with OpenAI,
Wow.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it spit out text that was pretty incoherent, and I was completely caught off guard. I didn't think this was going to become anything in the near future. But here we are with ChatGPT and like all these other models that have changed pretty much like every way of working. I think for
Mhm.
most people, and it's what a time to be alive. Um, yeah, I mean, there's sort of like two ways I've been thinking about like AI within like the SEO and marketing world. Like one is like what is the threat model? Like
Mhm.
how is AI gonna jeopardize SEO and what we do as marketers? And B is like how can we or number two rather is how can we leverage AI to do better marketing?
Mhm.
Two very very different ways to thinking about how do we need to you know conceive of AI in the workplace. Both really important.
And so, when you talk about kind of the impact AI has on SEO,
Yeah,
where do you kind of see that going as maybe a threat to the future of SEO?
sure. Um, so one, SEO is very much grounded in what I will call like the traditional SEO model. Like people are optimizing for keywords. They want to appear higher in search so they can get more traffic and convert
Mhm.
that traffic into customers. And you know, S, AI challenges that whole experience, right?
Right.
You have uh, on the Google side these AI overviews, which provide sort of like a summary of what you would expect in the search results themselves to users, so they never have to click on a website. On ChatGPT, they introduced this was it Search GPT? So
Mhm.
it's sort of like a replacement search engine where it combines much like Google does, like the large language models with traditional like search results. You have dedicated search engines like Perplexity that are doing just that, like on their own. You have Bing that is powered by ChatGPT, doing something very similar to Google. Um, and then you have people that are just they're skipping search engines altogether. They're going to ChatGPT to find their answer.
Mhm.
Not the smartest thing to do, but um, people are definitely doing that. So anything that's going to take away market share from those traditional search sources are
Mhm.
going to like impact the bottom line of like your SEO efforts.
And so, do you think that it's more going to kind of take over the role of your traditional SEO manager brand side, or do the SEO managers and brands need to kind of think about it differently?
It's usually the latter. I think
Mhm.
SEO at this point has a rich history of being a very adaptable marketing channel. When
Mhm.
it first
Mhm.
SEO first started, it was some people say it was even before search engines, and it was more about
Yeah.
link building. So like you had these portals and people found
Mhm.
websites through these portals, and then they built links from those websites, and people got to your website, and like that's how like the OG like SEO worked.
Yeah.
And then like SEO came along with like search engines like Google, and people were trying to like make sure you appeared at the top of Google. And then there was penalties for exploiting some of the things that these search engines worked out of, and then SEO became a little bit more um, closer to like traditional marketing, or rather like a combination thereof.
Yeah.
And now we have AI at play, and I think it's just like another thing to adapt to, at least in the near term.
Yeah.
um,
Well, and we talked about too is that the AI tools create a lot of efficiency, and they can, help you as a starting point. To your point, you can go directly to ChatGPT and kind of type in what you're looking for. And I'll say, like, the format it comes out with is a lot easier to kind of read through versus like clicking into multiple websites. Maybe that wasn't what you're looking for. And
yeah.
um, but however, to your point, I get it. It's not yet as robust as a traditional search engine.
I mean, I think it's pretty robust, especially when you
Hmm.
like add in follow-up questions. But what's lacking is reliability.
Yeah, the
Like
accuracy.
it's
Yeah.
the you have like hallucinations with these large language models,
Hmm.
and you can't 100% like trust what they say.
Right.
There's at the end of the day, these large language models are like advanced, really, really, really advanced like auto completes.
Hmm.
So they try to with a certain probability they try to predict what the next word will be. So it's
Hmm.
pulling from this large corpus of text that they were trained on, and guessing what the next word would be. And oftentimes that makes a lot of sense. Like it's
Hmm.
coherent. It has a semblance of logic because the English language or whatever language you're speaking has a semblance of logic. Um, but it makes stuff up.
This episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, is brought to you by Kriglu. Want to boost customer acquisition while saving time and money? Meet Kriglu, an AI-powered omnichannel bid management platform designed to optimize your ad spend. Kriglu intelligently adjusts bids across channels, ensuring your ads reach the right audience at the lowest cost. Plus, with its automation, you'll free up valuable time to focus on your business. The result? Efficient, cost-effective growth, all while maximizing your marketing budget. Ready to scale smarter and faster? Visit Kriglu.com, Kriglo.com, and start saving today. Yeah, yeah. Or, yeah, to your point, it makes it up or drawing conclusions or connections that aren't necessarily accurate. But that being said, from an efficiency perspective, you can use it in a lot of ways for content creation. But when it comes to creating that blog content or that landing page content that you really want to rank well, what's your recommendation for how you're going to leverage a chat model
Yeah.
in
I
AI?
mean, there's certainly been people that have generated like full out blog posts and like entire websites using
Hmm.
like ChatGPT and large language models. A lot of those have also been hit hard by, Google algorithm
Yeah.
updates, and they've lost traffic. Um, I'm not going to 100% dissuade people from experimenting with that, but I think
Hmm.
it does like pose a certain like riskiness, to like your marketing efforts. So yeah, I think it's much better to like sort of employ it in places like copywriting and
Hmm.
on your landing page, like writing persuasive copy, filling in, um, or even like filling in parts of blog content,
Hmm.
just sort of like augmenting your writing. I often like just sometimes I struggle writing a conclusion, and I'll like, okay, here's what I wrote. Can you help me like compose a conclusion?
Yeah.
Like things like that.
Hmm.
It's good at, and obviously AI models are much better when they're paired with some sort of like existing knowledge. So they talk about like a RAG process.
Hmm.
I forget what the acronym. It's like retrieval augmented generation or something like that. I'm gonna have to Google this now. Um, but basically, it gives it a foundation of a knowledge base. So you could use something like
Hmm.
RAG or a knowledge graph, and the accuracy and hallucination rate is going to be much much better. Okay, I was totally off by RAG. It's retrieval augmented generation. I was right. Okay, never mind. Um,
And And so is that like if you're like, because you were saying before, like for it's great for e-commerce product details. So would that be
oh,
if
for
I'm
sure.
I'm uploading, the product, all of the details I have from the manufacturing data or description, but then say write me a 3 sentence description of this product. Is that kind of is that
Yeah, I
right
mean,
or is that
a huge problem in for websites like e-commerce websites is they're they have this whole catalog of
Mhm.
products,
Yeah.
and most of their SKUs they're just filling in something from like a manufacturer. That's nothing unique. There's nothing special about your your product landing page, compared to the other guys. So like,
Right.
yeah, I think AI fits very well into that sort of thing, where
Hmm.
you can sort of like customize that experience for your brand, and add some pizzazz and uniqueness to who you are on those landing pages.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely use it, similar to what you were saying of, um, to kind of get a description or get some description or summary of something I already have written, especially, with the podcast content, or if I'm writing something on LinkedIn. It's not a straight copy and paste as much as what are the key points here, or
Right.
write this more efficiently, or check my grammar.
Yeah, I think using it to augment your existing work is the
Yeah.
smart way of using
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
more or less now. And also knowing that providing it context is really important, using something like
Hmm.
a knowledge graph or RAG,
Yeah.
and knowing how to prompt it properly. I've
Yeah.
seen so many people
Hmm.
like be like, "Oh, I tried ChatGPT, and the answer was like okay," and I was like, "Well, have you done this, this, and that to like just make sure it
Hmm.
gets like a better reply?" Because it's I guess it's it is sort of magical, but
Right.
maybe it's not 100% there yet. It can't guess what's inside your head. You
Right.
ask a question,
Not yet.
you have to if you want a certain answer, you need to
Hmm.
tell it what kind of answer you're going to want, and it doesn't have the knowledge of everything like out there. You need to provide it with that knowledge beforehand if you want it to answer a certain way.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's you're right. You have to keep kind of testing it until you get what's accurate and what's helpful. But I know for the future of SEO and the role of organic traffic, um, there's challenges ahead. So, what are your recommendations for companies to think about, kind of future proofing their positioning, when it comes to, especially brands that depended on SEO heavily?
Yeah, I mean, so I think first of all, you have these AI search engines. They're probably going to take some market share
Hmm.
from search engines, which means you're going to get less traffic and you're going to convert less of that traffic. Um, I think certain industries, certain businesses are going to be more affected by that than others. Like I would totally worry about like media companies, like
Yep.
publishers, like
Yeah.
those would be the the first I would worry about, which is why a lot of them are blocking ChatGPT
Yep.
and other search engines from sort of training their models on that content because
Hmm.
they pose a risk to their businesses. Um, and then what sort of like market share are these going to take? I think that's going to probably grow steadily.
Hmm.
You have there's a Gartner study. I don't know if you've seen this one where they say I think it was 20 there's of course several years. I think the first phase are like by 2026 or something. I have to look this up later. It's going to be like 25% of like search traffic, and then by like 2028 it's like 50% of search traffic.
Hmm.
I think these numbers are too high. But it sort of does show you that there's a risk there.
Hmm.
um I think they're too high because it's not taking into account like AI overviews in Google, um,
Right.
which also takes away traffic. If people aren't
Hmm.
clicking onto your search results, then they're that's getting cannibalized. Um, Eventually, you'll have to if you're like an e-commerce business, they'll have to transact with you.
Hmm.
Maybe if Google doesn't take that away as well.
Right.
And clearly, you have like businesses like Amazon, which aims to cannibalize like small e-commerce businesses and independent e-commerce business and making it like an all-in-one store. So I think you're constantly at risk, and AI is only making that worse. So so I guess to get back to your point, what are you doing about that?
Hmm.
Um, I think you have to keep doing really good marketing outside
Hmm.
of SEO. Start doing things from a product led growth approach.
Hmm.
So making sure that you're creating a product and product features that are going to benefit the users the most, so that you become the go-to source for everything. Like if I'm selling, you know, e-commerce products, like you want to be the Amazon. You want people to like know to go to like Amazon first, and that's because they created a really great e-commerce experience with everything you could want at a decent price that gets to you next day on your doorstep.
Mhm.
And that's true of all businesses. Like if you're just creating like run-of-the-mill content and hoping that that will rank in Google, and then like people will go through the sales funnel and eventually like convert on that, like yeah, that might work for
Mhm.
a little bit, but like what happens when like an Amazon.com pops up in your
Right.
industry?
Right.
You need to sort of design around that, thinking for the future.
Mhm.
And that's truer more than ever now with these AI models.
Mhm. Yeah, and I definitely, what you were saying about publishers. I've been, speaking with a lot of publishers, and through the Google updates that happened over the past year. I just had Max Willens from eMarketer last week launched a paper that showed the decrease in revenue that the publishers have, the impact. And I think to your point about marketing, it just brings it back to why that's also important. My recommendation to the publishers on a roundtable last week was you need to start thinking about the brand, thinking like a brand, and start doing other marketing efforts, and in promoting yourself through other channels as well, and not just I think they've learned not to depend on the SEO bucket, but like you said, whether it's your differentiated product or just you need to remember your brand first, and you need to be kind of attracting and drawing your customers. um, but no, this is great. So are there any kind of top tips for how people should be approaching AI when it comes to and we talked a bit about from a content creation, but any other key tips you want to share?
Yeah. I mean, I think you need to pay attention to these AI overviews right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, Google is still the top search engine worldwide. And they rolled out AI overviews to like other markets and for logged out users. And that's your near term threat at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, Good thing is, I think when they were beta testing it, they were a lot of the search results were coming in from outside of the top 10. It was like all over the place within the top 100. And since
Mhm.
they've launched, it's closer to the top 10 search results now. So
Wow. Yeah.
if you're doing SEO and ranking within the top 10 results, you're setting yourself up for success there. um, and I've run tests in the past where you could do slight manipulations of those test results by like altering the language slightly. I know Cyrus Shepherd also on his blog has run some tests that were slightly different than my own, but that's publicly shared on the
Hmm.
internet. So if you're looking for resources, check out his post. Um, but yeah, I think you're good just sort of like focusing on traditional SEO for the moment there. So do that in the near term, and then for the long term, start making that product led growth strategy for the longer term.
Great. Well, thank you, Paul. So great having you on today. As always, good to catch up with you. So thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kerry.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. We have more valuable content coming up, including topics on SEO, influencer marketing, SMX tech strategies, podcasting, and more. Be sure to subscribe to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, so you don't miss out. To connect with me, Kerry Curran, learn about how you can boost your revenue, and to listen to past episodes, visit revenuebasedmarketing.com. I look forward to hearing from you soon.